Just comparing the Ctx200 here with the Crf230. Remember, both of these frames are made in Brazil, and to be fair, they're built fairly well. A little bit thin on the paint, I feel, but that's something that can be overcome, and they have been abused and left out in the weather a lot. Main difference here on the frame of the Ctx200 is how it comes up this way from the footrest area. Quite a solid tube there, whereas on the Crf230 comes up, seems to join up in here, comes up on both sides on an angle. Same on this side as well. But yeah, it'll come up okay. I've got a few things that are straight off, like the footrest here is, or the foot, so the side stand has got quite a bad bend in it. I'll take that off and just straighten it out in the vise. That'll come up okay. Engines are pretty much the same. Main difference is, I think, the camshaft cover. Different cover. This one has no writing on it. Then the engines are a different age. The engine on the Crf230 is 2008, and I'm thinking this engine here is one of the first releases of the 233s. So I think we still think that it could be an XL or an XR230, but over those years there's very little difference in the actual crank casings. Remember, on this side, on the Crf230, we have no provision for kickstart at all, okay, and that's fine. Whereas over here on this engine, remember, I blanked this off to make it just electric start only. So there was a difference there straight away. Carburetors are different. This is the carburetor that came on this bike, and I presume it was the original carburetor for this engine. Okay, which has got the you know, the vacuum diaphragm on it, whereas this is our standard Honda carburetor. The, what do we call that? The Cayenne. I always have trouble pronouncing those, but you know, this is the typical one with the lever plunger. A lot of people talk badly about this carburetor, but it's the same carburetor that's on my XR250R, and I haven't had any trouble with it, to be honest. Otherwise, there's not a lot of difference. This one has got the aluminium swing arm, and this here has got a steel swing arm. Hub is a little different to allow for the mounting of the rear sprocket. This one, remember, it went into some little rubber bushes, so I think this was a little bit inferior. I feel this is a standard layout, a little bit more like my XR250. Aluminium rims, which I'm really excited about. Rim locks on both the front and rear wheels on the Crf230. This bike, I'm going to actually spend some time on it. It's going to come up really nice. So far I've just taken off the bark busters. I can confirm that the bars are bent. Was a little bit unsure for a while, but definitely there's a bend on this side back this way towards me, so I'm ordering new bars. Might put some Rethnils on it, just sort of splurge out a little bit. Got the front brake running, but then I've realised that the caliper is in quite a poor state, and the brake pads are stuffed, so I'm going to rebuild this anyway. But that's one of my plans to do in the next day or two. Over here, this was all completed. I've got this all done. So the Ctx200 with the Crf or the 230 engine in it is pretty much done now. I've just changed the oil. We've taken the oil out because remember I said that this kickstart seal was leaking, and it's pretty well stuffed. It's gone all hard. So I've got another one of those on order, and I'll fit that back into here. hard to see, but it just fits there nicely, just slips in. So that'll be a little job. Then I'll put the oil back in again. Remember, I do have that funny sound on this one, so while I've got the oil out, I'm going to take the clutch cover off again, just check that I didn't put anything wrong, put back together wrong in here. Don't think I did, but it just has that metallic sound, which sounded really weird. Just wondering whether or not a bolt is sitting proud and just touching slightly as it goes around. I can't think that it's going to be a big deal because it was actually running okay. It's just making a bit of a weird noise. So yeah, a little update on the two bikes. Around the back I've got my Degree and my XR250R. It's probably my limit for bikes. Too many things going on at once, otherwise I just really can't get onto them all. So this will be a bit of my summer project, finishing off this Ctx200. I'll then sell that. Not going to be asking much for it, I just like to cover my costs. Hopefully it's a good starter bike for somebody. It's got a little bit more work to do up here. I've got a new start switch, kill switch, and a new light switch arrangement I'm going to be putting on the side. I just have to program the rev counter. I had a look online. You just have to program these for the RPM 4 stroke, so I'll do that and that'll all be good to go. And yeah, I put the new seat on this, it's come up really well. Put the shrouds back around the tank and stuff like that, and when I fix up the little engine noise, we should be looking pretty good. So I think in a few weeks that'll be all done. Over here on this bike, I'm going to give it a complete service on the engine. I won't take the engine out at this stage. I'll just give it a complete service, new filters and oil, etc. I might even have a look in the clutch, inspect that. And then I'm going to go over the whole thing where it's rusty and just wipe some oil over all of the bare rust areas. Just tidy that up. Tidy up the sort of rip in the seat. Shouldn't be too hard to do that. I'm probably going to just slip a little bit of vinyl underneath the tear and put some contact adhesive and just sort of do it that way. It looks like it's going to go together quite nicely, so I don't really think it's going to be a big deal. The seat was quite a good price, so I knew that it had a rip when I bought it, but it was quite hard to buy these in really good condition without spending quite a lot of money. So I want to sort of keep things at a reasonable budget all of the time. I'll be putting new tyres on this. I will actually splurge out on this one. I'll put Pirelli's Scorpions on the front and rear on this one, and I'm going to sort of make it into a really decent little dirt bike for somebody, or even for myself for a while. So we're getting pretty close to Christmas now. This is actually what are we today? Wednesday. Christmas Day is on Saturday. So we've just come back from down south again. This time I took the Mercedes for a drive, just done 1,000 k's return trip in that, and didn't miss a beat, so I'm quite pleased with how she's performing. Did a little check on the oil on the computer. Oil level is coming up good, so that's all fine. So it looks like it's actually a good little car. Quite pleased with how it performed on the drive, and that's worked out quite well. You can see the Crf230's got quite a nice stance to it. These are a very popular bike. I'm sure you would have ridden one of these. They're all over the world. Crf230F, great little bike. In New Zealand they are often used by private individuals for trail riding. Sometimes a learner will start off one of these, or a novice, and also they're sold in New Zealand for farm bikes. So this one has really been used as a farm bike. I imagine it's been used on a farm, and probably the farm people used it as trail riding as well. So I imagine it's had a pretty tough life, but it's not in bad condition for 2008, and I think a little bit of TLC on it's going to come up nicely. Got the battery on charge at the moment, and it's coming up good. A little battery for it. It's been coming up nicely. Had to quite a bit of battery. I don't think I'll have to buy a new battery for it. It actually kicked the engine over quite well anyway. I don't know how long it had been sitting without a charge, so with the charge on it should be good to go. Bit of an oil leak down here. All that oil came out of that damn seal for the gear shaft, for the gear shift shaft. Couldn't believe it. Most of the oil actually drained out of the engine over the last couple of months that it's been sitting there. If you ever have trouble getting oil stains off pavers, what I find does it really easily is just pour turpentine on it. It seems to dissolve it and maybe lets it soak down deep into the surface, and it's good to go. I've actually put some on here, but it's still drying out. Okay, well, thank you very much for taking the time to have this little update with the bikes. Due to the lockdown, it took me so long to get the Crf230 up here to Auckland. It was down in a place called Stratford, which is quite a way down south of the North Island. But now, thankfully, we're free to move around the country now, as long as we follow COVID protocols, which we're all pretty happy to do. We can get around again, which makes it fantastic. So now that I've got it home, I can then sort of like potter away with things. I'm sure you know what I mean. It's really nice when you've actually got it in your hands. It's always difficult when you're waiting for it to arrive and you've got all these plans you want to do to it, and not too sure what parts to order and things like that. But now I can actually physically go over the bike and make a good parts list up of what I need to purchase. I'll buy new brake shoes for the rear, of course, new brake pads for the front. I think I'll do the new bearings front and rear as well. Start off nice and fresh for all those things and see how we go. Thanks very much for watching, and catch you in the next one.